Hi, good evening. This is Shannon Edie again, Wives Empowered. Just coming to you with another 100 with the wives. Just want to talk about a few things, be open and honest, keep it real, and do some talking 100 style with the wives. Husbands, you are welcome as well to come in and hang out with us. As y'all can see tonight, I did not bring back my co-host because he cut up and acted a fool last time. So I did not invite him to this session of keeping it 100 with the wives. But tonight I wanted to talk about just defense mechanisms. That's something that we use in marriage. And a lot of times we don't even realize that we're using them. And I definitely can say that I use quite a few of these in our marriage, and maybe even still use one or two, but it's just something to think about, because sometimes, we are the ones who are using it. Sometimes it's our spouses that are using it, but it's really good. Knowledge is power. What God reveals, he heals. And so when it's things, hey, Wanda, how are you? Good to see you. And so what God reveals, he also heals. And so sometimes it's good to just reveal those things and, tell the truth, shame the devil. So I'm going to read something about defense mechanisms. It says, all human beings have ways of protecting ourselves against what we see and or feel as danger. These ways of protecting ourselves are called defense mechanisms. They are built-in survival equipment. When we overuse defenses, we become unable to see reality clearly because we are shutting off real feedback. So basically, I'm just going to talk about a couple of these, and whether you identify with them or not, you may be watching live, you may be watching on the replay. But like I said, it's just really good information to kind of, think about and be knowledgeable about, and to recognize what's in you and what's keeping you from moving forward in your marriage and your relationship. So the first one, right out the gate, is anger. Anger is an easy cover-up for feelings that are uncomfortable, such as fear, hurt, rejection, guilt, embarrassment, and other things. So a lot of times that is something that's a go-to for people when they're using defense mechanisms. That's their go-to, is anger. And that actually keeps their spouse at bay. It keeps them from really getting close and getting to the heart of the matter. And that sometimes anger happens in marriage. That's going to be with anybody. And I don't care how good people say the relationship is. The truth of the matter is you're not always ecstatic with everything that your spouse does. And it's okay. And so sometimes we do get angry in marriage. The Bible says we can be angry, but don't sin. The Bible talks about, anger, not sinning in your anger. So definitely there are times that you will be angry, but this is talking about using anger to sort of keep your spouse from getting too close, or to keep from getting to the heart of whatever the issue is or the matter that's going on. So it's something that, like when I read it, the paragraph at the beginning, it says, defense mechanisms are ways that we keep people away. We push people back, and we're unable to see reality when we do that. Hey, Gina, how are you? We're not able to see reality when we do that. It's like a survival skill that we've built up over the years. And that's a way that when we feel in our minds or in our hearts that danger is approaching, we use that defense mechanism to keep things, or to keep people away. And when we're keeping that spouse away, that's breaking down our marriage. And so anger, and I will say, I used it at times in my marriage. I don't really use that. I think I've Well, let me not say that, because sometimes you say that and then the Lord's like, oh, really? And then you have a situation that happens that really, shows you like, oh, I got to work on that again. But I do know that at the beginning of our marriage, that was something that we both dealt with, was automatically switching to anger and kind of getting defensive and angry because we didn't want the other person to get too close. So definitely anger. It was just an easy go-to, but I don't think that I use it that much anymore. I'll say it that way. I won't say that I have just completely mastered that, but I definitely don't, use that anymore. I'm quicker now to kind of talk it out and kind of, see my husband's perspective before just jump into anger. All right. So the next defense mechanism that people use, hey, Minister Kawana. Oh my God, y'all. At the end, I definitely am going to mention the Emerge virtual conference that we're doing, because if anyone is interested in still getting on and becoming a part of that, we did night 1 tonight and it was phenomenal. Evangelist Vicky Spence was wonderful. And so we have tomorrow, Pastor Gwen Thompson's going to be speaking. And then Friday and Saturday, we have speakers for that time. So definitely before I get off line tonight, just remind me to talk about that. So the next defense mechanism that we can use is minimizing. And that is reducing the truth, and just kind of minimizing the situation, because you don't want to, again, defense mechanism is really keeping your spouse just at bay, because you don't want to deal with that issue and really dig into that issue. Hey, Pastor Gwen, how are you? Yes. Tonight was fire. Evangelist Vicky did a wonderful job. So the minimizing, that's when a person, continues to kind of make light of or reduce the truth to kind of, make it seem like, oh, it's not that bad. Those ones like, they always treat everything like you're overreacting, or maybe you're the one who's doing that and you're, treating other people like they're overreacting. And so that definitely is something that kind of puts distance between you and your spouse. The next defense mechanism is rejection. And that could be verbal, as in an attack, or it could be nonverbal, as in avoidance. But at the end of the day, both of them create distance. Both of them keep you from really connecting and getting to where you need to be in your marriage. And the next one is rationalization. So rationalization is illogical thinking to support and justify irresponsible behavior. I will say that both, probably me and my husband, use that a lot in our marriage, especially at the beginning, because everything had an excuse. Everything was, but this is why. And I think we got so good at using that it was like, that I think was more of a go-to for us than any other one, was just rationalizing our point of view. Like my point of view, even though after I said it, it sounded stupid to me. But when you're in the midst of that disagreement, or you're in the midst of going back and forth with your spouse, I mean, you're in it. Then you don't want to back off and like you didn't gone too deep now. You got to stick with it. So you just kind of hang in there, knowing you're loud and wrong, knowing you need to shut up, knowing that nothing that's coming out of your mouth at that point is sounding right, but we hold on to it. I have one daughter, and I'm not going to call her out because I don't want to embarrass her. But I have one daughter who sometimes when she gets in trouble for something, she'll lie. And I will have caught her red-handed, and I will have, like, I already know that she did it and I already have the proof and stuff, but I'll just want her to tell the truth. So I'll be like, I know this is what you did, or I know this is what happened. And she's like, no, no, I didn't. Or she'll try and, say, well, I just did this, but I didn't do all that. And this girl, I mean, will carry that thing all the way until I pull out the proof that she did it. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, yeah, I did it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you took it that far before you could say and drop it. But that's how we are sometimes. When we get into that rationalization, we're so in it that we can't stop. We get so deep in it that we cannot stop and just say, you know what? At this point, it don't even sound right to me. So I'm going to just let it go. I was wrong and I'm going to let it go. Hey, Carol. Hey, cousin. And so rationalization, I think for us, was the thing that we kept throwing back and forth at each other in the beginning of our marriage that really, really was our go-to defense mechanism that kept us from really connecting. Because we were always like, I can't even think of, like, that's how stupid some of the stuff was. I can't even think of some of it even now because it was just so silly. But it was like just justifying everything with some explanation, some excuse. The next defense mechanism is intimidating or defensiveness. And this can be verbal or nonverbal behavior that is threatening. And I'm telling you, there are quite a few people that use that. And I know some people say, jokingly, like, oh, they scared of me. But really, I mean, is that what you want? You want your spouse to respect you because they're scared of you? Or do you want them to have that respect for you because they really, truly love you and they know that you love them? So I think, I don't think that I've used that much. Or actually, I don't really think I've used that. I don't really try and, intimidate my husband. But then again, if I let him on, he might say something different. Hey, Pastor Yania, how are you? So if my husband were sitting here, he might say something different. But definitely, that is a defense mechanism that can really damage the trust that your spouse has for you. Using that intimidation, using that threatening behavior, that can damage the trust. And sometimes when that trust is damaged, you can't get it back. Well, you can with God's help, but it's really hard to work through that when the trust has been damaged. The next defense mechanism is something I will admit that I used a lot, and it's silence. Silence means shutting off communication or not acknowledging feedback. So I would go into my little place and space because I was like, I need a minute. That's what I would tell them. I need a minute. I got to calm down. And so for me, I would just get quiet because I would just go inward. And I would say, I'm not even dealing with him. It was more of like a passive aggressive type of thing. So I just kind of did that. And I think when we use that, sometimes you do need to be silent so that you don't say the wrong thing. But when you're using it for a defense mechanism to keep that person away, then that can be damaging in your marriage. So the next, and I hope these are helping somebody. The next defense mechanism is inappropriate humor. And you know what I usually see this particular one coming from is the husbands. I've seen so many husbands and I've heard so many wives say, he's funny and I love him, but he just can't shut it off. He plays too much, or everything doesn't have to be a joke. And it kind of gets under their skin. Like, it's funny that the things that we felt were so cute and so funny and lovable about our spouses when we first started dating, that later on we start thinking, oh my God, that irritates me. And it's the very thing that you used to think was so cute and funny and lovable, but then it starts to get on your nerves. And so I've heard a lot of wives say, I love his sense of humor, and that was something that drew me to him. But, but then he doesn't know when to shut it off. And so sometimes that inappropriate humor, and it says it's often inappropriate humor often is an attempt to change the subject. And so it's hard to really, get to the matter with someone when they're really just being, funny. Or if their humor is just kind of keeping everyone laughing, but not really allowing you to talk it out and to get to the heart of the matter. So with the inappropriate humor, like I said, usually I've heard a lot of, I've heard one or two wives that had that issue, but most of the time I usually hear it that it's the husbands that do that and not necessarily the wives, but it could be either. And again, it's just something that keeps you and can cause distance in your marriage. The next defense mechanism is withdrawal, and that could be kind of, in silence. It's usually nonverbal body language, such as turning the head away, staring at the floor, turning the body away, or just leaving the situation. And that, I think, along with the silence, that's something I used to do. And I sometimes revert to it, especially when I feel like my feelings have been hurt in my relationship. So I sometimes revert to that, and I do pray and I ask God to help me through it. But yeah, sometimes I do sort of revert to that because I am a person that when I'm talking, you don't have anything to worry about. If I'm communicating with you, you're good. But the minute I get quiet, you better worry. That's your cue. Be afraid. Be very afraid. And I think my husband knows that about me, and he will try to initiate conversation to kind of talk through whatever is going on. But that's something that I definitely continue to work on, is to not just kind of completely shut down and completely, pull back, because like I said, that's something that was my go-to. That's something that I used to do all the time. And so I will not say that I'm totally out of that. That sometimes is a struggle for me. But like I said, I'm praying through it. And God is helping me to not do that as often as I used to. And I'm just saying, that's just me. You may not do any of these. You may be a person that really does do well with not using those defense mechanisms and things. The next one is actually physical sickness. And there are people that get to that point, and that's and it becomes hard to confront someone who seems like they're physically ill. But it is believed that between 70 and 90% of all human pain is emotionally related somehow, that is somehow related to an emotional issue. So, if that is, I've not done that, I don't believe, and I don't think I've ever, used that as something to kind of push my husband away. But hey, it's very real, and there are people who wind up, doing that. This one is really probably something that quite a few people use. This defense mechanism is called peace at any price. And that is saying or doing whatever is necessary not to upset the apple cart. It's people pleasing, usually at a cost to your own self-worth, needs, and value system. And so peace at any price is that spouse who is just like, I don't like to argue, so I just give them what they want. I give in and I just let them win. I just, I don't like to have conflict. I'm not good with conflict. So that spouse just, okay, whatever you say. And that, believe it or not, that's not healthy for your marriage at all. I know you feel like that you've avoided a conflict, you've avoided an argument, but that's not healthy for your marriage, especially when it gets to the point where you begin to feel devalued, where you begin to feel like your self-worth and your needs suffer. It's okay to speak up and to say what you need to say in love and to work through an issue. An argument is not the end of the world for a marriage. I mean, even a yelling, top of the lungs yell and telling each other off is not the end of the world for your marriage. But keeping the peace at any cost, especially and trying not to upset the apple cart, and keeping the peace at the cost of your own self-worth and needs is unhealthy for your marriage. The next defense mechanism is evading. So avoiding giving direct feedback, circumventing the issue or switching. So evading the issue and just trying to, kind of think of, when you playing dodgeball, just kind of evading the issue, getting out the way before they really get to the heart of the matter. You're just moving around and, not really dealing with the issue. The next one is escaping, and that means usually physically leaving the room, leaving the conversation or situation to avoid dealing with it. And that was something that my husband would do quite often. I think he talked about it. I want to say he talked about it on the last live where we were together speaking. And we would get into a conflict of some kind and he would leave the house. He would go down. Yeah, he did talk about it on the last one. He would go down the street and play basketball, or he would go to his mom's house. Or, he would just go out. He would go somewhere. He would physically leave the house. And yes, the argument would cease for that time that he left the house, but it was not over. You can leave the house, but that doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean it's settled. And we never could get to the heart of the issue with him leaving out like that. But that's something. And then it made me feel like, a sense of abandonment, and I can only speak for me. Other people may feel like, oh, it's good. They left because they left me alone and we both can calm down. But for me, it translated to me whenever he would get angry or we would have a conflict and he would leave out, it would translate to me that it was, rejection. And I took it as, he doesn't want to be around me or he doesn't want to be with me. And so it translated to more than just him taking a break. And so we had to work through that and actually get to the point where we were able to deal with issues and conflict in a healthy way instead of me getting quiet and shutting down and him leaving out the house. The next one, defense mechanism, it says sex. We just, go straight to the physical. Give him what he wants. I ain't got to really go deep. But marriage is not about just going wide. You have to go deep as well. And if we never are, the Bible talks about that Adam and Eve were naked and unashamed. And that means that they were able to bear everything to their spouse and not be ashamed. If we can't get to that point, then why are we married? If we can't also go deep with our spouse and not just why. Yeah, we can talk about surface things all day long, but then at some point we've got to be able to go beneath the surface and really see that person for who they are. I don't want to be in a marriage and in a relationship where I can't be seen and see him for who he is. And so sex can be a defense mechanism whenever you're just like, oh, let me give them what they want so that they don't require anything deeper. than just the physical relationship. The next defense mechanism is shifting or switching. And that gets the focus off of oneself or the topic to another person or another topic. So kind of switching up on the person and switching the topic, kind of changing things up so that the focus is no longer on you or on the issue. The next one is denial, and that's refusing to recognize or accept the facts. And that kind of goes hand in hand what I was talking about before with the rationalization, just kind of, refusing to really, take everything as it is, just kind of denying everything. And no, I will say I've seen a lot of that in the past, and I try not to do it now, but kind of like, I know I'm mad. He knows I'm mad. He says what's wrong, and I say nothing. And he's like, I can tell you're mad. I'm good. So that goes a little bit hand in hand with the rationalization. Then there is the next defense mechanism is projection. So projecting your stuff onto someone else. That means that you're shifting feelings onto someone else or another topic. Also, dealing way ahead in the future or speculating on an outcome or a future response. So projection is you taking that and whatever, issue or whatever, and you're taking the focus off of you and projecting it on someone else. And that keeps that puts distance between you and your spouse. The next defense mechanism is blaming. And I think we learned that from Adam and Eve as well. In the garden, Adam said, look, it was this woman that you gave me. And then the woman said, well, it was the serpent. So blaming a lot of times can be a go-to for spouses. And that defense mechanism is something that it puts distance between you all. But then again, like I said before, it can tear down your trust. Because at a time, especially when it's the husbands, at a time when your wife wants you to cover her, like you're supposed to be my covering, for you to blame me or, really put something on me that I feel like we can work through together, that breaks down the trust in our relationship, and that's really hard to repair. And definitely God can repair it. The Holy Spirit can repair it, but that does put that really breaks down and breaks apart at your trust. Then we have another defense mechanism is intellectualizing, and that's attempts to impress others with academic approach, or you're trying to really frame everything in a way that you are making your spouse seem like they're stupid, like you got it all together and you know more than them. Lord Jesus, why is my husband standing here like he's gonna try and come and get in on this live? So intellectualizing, that's something that a lot of times when you are in a field where you have to analyze stuff, and then you come back and you're in a conflict with your spouse, you begin to analyze, or you begin to tell them what their issue is in your very technical and professional way. That is something that makes your spouse feel like, okay, really? Are you calling me stupid? Or it puts them in a place where they get, what's the word I'm looking for? I won't say, let me just say it puts any of these things puts distance between you and your spouse. But to make your spouse feel less than, that's something that you definitely want to take care that you don't do. I don't think I did this in our marriage, But definitely anytime that you are, in conflict, speaking to your spouse in a way or dealing with your spouse in a way where you are making them feel like they're less than you, or even just like that whole attitude that we sometimes can get, whether it's a husband or a wife, that we sometimes can get where we kind of like, really, are you stupid? Like, you really thought that, or you really said that, those type of things that can kind of make our spouse feel devalued. Those are things that we definitely want to take care not to do. The next one, the next defense mechanism is generalizing. That is, oh, well, you always, or you never, or everybody does this. And most people know that you're not supposed to do that type, everybody knows I don't like, so things like that, just generalizing. Those type of things are defense mechanisms that can put distance between you and your spouse. And then the next one is scapegoating. Scapegoating is simply focusing on someone else, putting everything on to someone else, and trying to just avoid. And then this one, don't shoot me, but this next one, okay, a lot of people use this, and some people would say mostly wives. I beg to differ. I've seen some men use it. Tears. It often gets sympathy from others. It's hard to confront someone you have sympathy for. And so the tears, some people, really use that. It's like every disagreement, every conflict, the waterworks come out, but they come out in order to get the other person to back off. It's okay in marriage to show emotion, and it's okay in marriage for you to be honest about what you feel. However, when the tears come out just as a way to get the other person to back off, that's when it's a defense mechanism. Then the next defense mechanism is confusion. It gets others to do your work, or it just kind of, keeps you from someone from acting or feeling responsible. They seem like they don't understand everything. I don't think I've used that one, but that confusion, and I know people who, I've seen people use it, like where, well, I'll say I suspected they were using it. They may have been genuinely confused. However, it's those ones that you see and they're just playing dumb, and you're like, really? Okay, I'm gonna just leave that there. I'm not gonna say anything about it. But we've seen people use it. I don't think that I've used it. But again, like I said, if my husband was on here with me tonight, he might be saying a different story. And then the last defense mechanism that people use is fragility. And that is a person who appears weak in order to stave off confrontation. That they appear, and that might go along with the tears. Hey, Quandetta, how are you, hon? Love you. But yeah, that may go along with the tears. Just making it seem like you're so helpless, so defenseless, so weak, in order to keep that person from really going too deep or getting too close. And so those are just some different defense mechanisms that we use in marriage, and that like I said, definitely some of them I used and my husband used when we were at the beginning of our marriage, and it did cause distance between us. We've been able to, really pray through, work through, talk through a lot of these things, and we do better now in our marriage. But yeah, at the beginning, we were really, it was hard, because some of those things were just things that we did without even thinking about it. Like I said at the beginning, these are things that, when even without thinking about it, you sense danger, or you sense that you got to protect yourself. You put up those walls automatically. And so I did say that before I got off of here, and thank you guys for joining me tonight. I know it's a little different. Normally, I just kind of talk about stuff that I've gone through, but the defense mechanisms, it was something that I was reading about it, and I really thought it would be something that some of the wives or even some of the husbands might need to hear in order to just, like I said, knowledge is power. And what God reveals, he heals, definitely. So I did want to make sure that you guys know about the Emerge conference that's going on. Thank you, Eugenia, for the hearts and the thumbs up. I did want to make sure you guys know about the Emerge conference that is going on now. It's a virtual conference. It's free. You can go to Eventbrite and just look up the Emerge conference, or you can check out on Facebook on the Wives Empowered page or on my page, Shannon Edie, and you'll see the link there so that you can register. What we did was we closed out registration yesterday so that we could make sure that everyone had the link and everyone had all the information to be on the line tonight. And then after the event tonight, we opened the line, we opened registration back up, and I believe they opened back up for 10 people to go on and register for the rest of the conference. So if you are interested, you can either go to Eventbrite and look up the Emerge conference, or you can look on the Wives Empowered page. You can also look on my page, Minister Kawana Fogel's page. You can look on Pastor Gwen Thompson's page, or on Evangelist Vicky Spence's page, and also Minister Imani Scriber. You can look on her page as well. We all have the link posted. It's on our Facebook. It's on our Instagram. If you text us, we'll send you the link. But we've opened it up tonight for just another 10 people to get on and to be able to get the link for tomorrow. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to us, and we'll go ahead and get registered, and then we'll send you the link out. But it's going to be phenomenal tonight. Evangelist Vicky talked about isolation, and that's the subtitle of the conference is From Isolation to Elevation. So it's funny because we did not know it when God gave us this, but this all has been coinciding with things beginning to open back up. So the Emerge conference, emerging from isolation to elevation, is kind of going along with and mirroring. Now things are starting to open back up. And so tonight was talking about isolation. Tomorrow night will be Pastor Gwen talking about revelation. And then Friday night, I'll be on and I'll be talking about preparation. On Saturday, we have the two power-packed ministers back to back, Minister Kawana Fogel and Minister Imani Scriber. And I'm telling you, it is going to be absolute fire. So definitely look on our pages and get registered. It's not just for women. Men have registered too. So it's for men, it's for women, it's for anyone who feels like they're in that place where they are about to emerge, where God is going to take them from isolation all the way through to elevation. So you guys, I love you guys, and I thank you so much for getting on. I appreciate you, and I hope you guys have a great night. I'm going to go and find my husband and see what he is up to. And I will see you guys the next time that I get on to do a 100 with the wives. Take care. Have a blessed night.